All right, welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast as we talk all things Fox Raceway from what was an epic opening round of Pro Motocross with the great man Jeff Beaver from Whiskey Throttle Media. Obviously, before we get cracking, firstly, thank you for everyone listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Firepower, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkaline for all their incredible support, as none of this would be possible without them. All right, I'm joined again by the great man, Whiskey Throttle Editor at Large, Jeff Beaver for this one. We're back for Outdoors, mate. How's life? And thanks for joining us. You were crushing the content, mate. It was pumping out.
Pretty good. I mean, to me, I didn't put out a whole lot this weekend. I about 6:30 Saturday morning, I was at the track, cruising my e-bike around, looking for good lines of sight because they revamped the track, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time Friday doing that. And I was pushing my e-bike up this super steep hill around the back where it goes up the that real steep section to the Fox fan zone. Got about halfway up, and man, my left cap popped right at the bottom. I'm like, oh shit, what was that? And it's getting better, but I gotta go to the doctor. So that day was pretty rough. So I had our new guy Ethan cover the top of the circuit, and I covered the down in the flats because trying to walk up any kind of hill, even trying to walk up a little 2 foot berm hurt. So I managed. I got my new Canon of a lens, new 100 to 400 lens. So thank goodness for that. I was able to kind of get in like two different spots and film what I needed to film, but I wasn't able to operate the way I wanted to. But sometimes you just got to make do. But yeah, we had fun, and I think the best shot of the weekend so far was Tomac doing that Air Jordan, try to get back over the jump. Some guy's like, "Oh, dude, if you look at it, he was in the middle when he took off." And I go, "You idiot! You have no idea what you're talking about, dude. I was straight in line of sight with him. He went off the very far left side of that jump, and the wind caught him and almost put him to flat. It would have been dirty, dude. How the hell he yanked that bike over, I don't know. But that was I was like, dude, he's gonna end his summer before it even starts.
Oh,
It,
mate,
it
would have
was
been a
insane.
disaster.
Oh, that would have
Sexton
been terrible to
style.
watch. Yeah, it'd have been terrible. But
Yeah, bloody
yeah,
hell.
but
I hope
otherwise,
you,
it was a pretty good weekend.
yeah, I hope you heal up and you're ready for Hangtown, mate, because that should be another cracker with a bit of Eli
Gonna
Tomac.
be freaking
Yeah.
hot, dude. It's supposed to be like, I don't know what, 45 Celsius up there, something like that.
Oh, wow.
105. I think that's around 45 for you guys.
Gee, that's crazy, mate. You'll be certainly sweating it out, and those Euro blokes will be definitely struggling there for sure.
Yeah, sweating like a whore in church.
Absolutely, mate. And obviously, before we get cracking on the racing, how was the track shape up? Obviously, they made a couple of changes. Obviously, the fans was the vibes high. Obviously, the weather was quite pleasant as well, which made things pretty good. Obviously, had the press day there. They've sort of opening to the series press conference. There was a lot going on, mate. Plenty of content to shoot for you as well.
Oh yeah, there was press, WMX. It was gnarly. The weather was pretty good. I mean, it was hot still if you were just standing in the sun, but there was a good breeze, and so it was tolerable for Paula. That track, I thought it sucked. A lot of the riders didn't like it. If you ask Juju, he absolutely hated it. It was sketchy in a lot of sections, and it was not what they wanted. But I talked to the promoter and asked him why they took the big jump out. Well, that big jump is for the national, and it's also on the primary day. And a lot of people have been getting wadded up on it lately. And he said somebody's going to get killed, so I took it out. So I mean, hey, got to respect the business decision when you're worried that somebody's going to end up in a pine box. Maybe it's best to take it out. So you got to respect his decision on that. I think if I was in his shoes, I'd do the same thing. But yeah, they did the best they could. From what Deegan said, it was pretty raceable. What he told him, so that was cool. But they did put a lot of new dirt up on that downhill around the. They basically built a West Coast version of the Screw You from Unadilla up around that Fox fan zone. And I talked to Juju yesterday at the golf tournament. He's like, dude, they made a Daytona section down that hill. He's all, man, I came around that corner and was like, what the, what the hell is this? And just gnarly, nasty ruts down this steep, high speed hill that Deegan was jumping. There's a kicker about 30 foot back from the knuckle of the downhill. And Deegan was just hucking it off that, landing in those ruts. And I'm like, that dude's plumb crazy. Yeah, so it was a gnarly weekend.
Yeah, mate, you crushed it. And obviously, that golf tournament, give us a little bit of insight about that really cool cause that's supporting. And obviously, you got the Ducati test over in Europe, pings off to that. There's a lot going on at Whiskey Throttle, mate. You and Ethan get the content. And some of the questions you asked at the press conference were absolutely excellent, mate. So just thought I'd give you a nod of the cap to that, too.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I just, I mean, everybody's.
It's like watching the two baddest dudes on the schoolyard finally get to fight, and it didn't disappoint. But a lot of people, it seemed like Jet was toying with him, but I think Eli was also being smart because he didn't take the same line twice that whole second moto. And when in the press conference, when I asked him, he was pretty direct, and he just said, "I was watching and looking at his lines and learning," and that old man's crafty, and Paul is not his best track by any means, so if he did that good behind him, you know, Jetson needs to look out, but then Jet's a freak and he's an alien. I just couldn't believe that he came back and qualified the way he did, and then won both motos. I'm pretty good buddies with his mechanic Christian, and I was busting Christian's balls. I said, "You guys are a bunch of sandbagging sons of bitches." I said,
He didn't have no knee surgery. You guys took 6 months off and went to the frickin' Bahamas, you lying piece of shit. He started laughing. He's all, bullshit. But
I even told Lars that. I go, "You guys are sandbagging, dude. You guys are all down in the Bahamas goofing off, dude. Don't even
lie. I said, you secret safe with me. They just laughed at me. Shut up, Jeff. Kept walking.
But yeah, shit, you got to respect the hustle, dude."
Oh yeah, man. He was on fire, Jet, especially. Obviously, the starts came back pretty easy. Obviously, you saw it, the outpouring of emotion. There's been a lot of negativity surrounding him and his crew lately, and yeah, it was a statement ride for sure. Epic second moto, like we said, to hold off Tomac. There's a lot of pressure that whole moto, and he handled it so well. ET was putting that beast mode on, and he had some really crafty lines, like you said, to make the gap up, but he just couldn't, do the whole track as they both had their sections. But I guess, yeah, controlled the race pretty impressively in both ones, didn't he, mate? So look forward to more of that to come. And it's really cool, like you said, they have huge respect for one another, him and Tomac. And I guess a little bit ominous is that he obviously has won 8 from 8 at Fox Raceway now, but he still wasn't completely comfortable on the bike. So that's a bit concerning for the competition too, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
Hangtown will be very telling on how he does.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Obviously, he had that crash there last year, and you know what Tomac can do there. But yeah, Tomac to keep up with Jet for 25 minutes, super impressive. And yeah, he'll be coming in there looking to sort of carry that momentum in and come out swinging. But pretty impressive. You see Tomac, he's clearly put the work in, and he just loves that brutality of outdoors too. He's got that sort of mindset where he doesn't mind suffering at all. And I guess with Sexton going out, it's kind of on Tomac to make the title fight, isn't it, too, mate?
Yeah, I mean, if something happens to Tomac,
Dude,
dude,
the 450 class is going to be a snoozer, dude. He's just going to wax everybody. I was stoked on Hunter though, dude. Yeah, everybody was kind of sleeping on Hunter, and one of the 450 moto starts, Jet and him actually came together, and Hunter got the shit into the stick, went flying off to the right. But the second one, Hunter got the best of him up at least over the first two turns and through that section, and then around to the first right hand turn. Jet got him back, but it was nice to see Hunter come out and smack little bro around at least for a section.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was impressive on his return from injury. All the podium finishers in the 450 class were returning from injury, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, Hunter was once again made that little mistake at the end where AP got him in the second moto. Won't be happy about that, but still got to be satisfied with that. Plenty to work with. Another one that was, said that he was in a little bit of pain. Obviously, that shoulder. Yeah, and, the starts were dialed, and he was mentioning about all the therapies and the money and the time and the effort him and Jet to get themselves dialed, and it certainly paid off, mate. So look forward to Hunter hopefully battling it out there like he did last year, because you saw firsthand how good he was in motocross last year. Had 25 minutes for Sexton most races, didn't he? So definitely one to watch, mate.
yeah, definitely. And
I think RJ did really good for having wrist surgery a week ago. That was pretty impressive. I was stoked on that. And got to give a shout out to Grant Harlan, everybody's favorite stray. That
poor guy, he catches more shit from people for no reason. He's
just the nicest guy. He just always catches strays, dude. I'm pretty good friends with his girlfriend Mina, and I'm just always laughing. I'm like, why is Grant always catching strays? She's like,
I don't know. It's just so funny, dude. But he just
takes it. He's a tough son of a bitch. He's a redhead, so he don't feel no pain. He lets it roll off his back. But he beat RJ in that second 450 moto, dude. He got him, and he did whack his ankle pretty good. He said he rotated his foot around 180, and I'm like, oh God. But yeah, shout out to Grant Harlan for the solid finish in the 450 moto, dude. That's legit, to put that Gizmo Mods bike up against a factory bike and a guy like RJ, that's nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah, super good rider, underrated for sure. And obviously, on the topic of adversity, give us your take on the Sexton incident. So he didn't start too well, obviously 10th in the first qualifying, I believe. Then he obviously got it together, but he was kind of the one man with the continuity, expected to shine. He's fit, healthy. And then he had this issue with the goggles, mate. And then just looked like before he was heading into pit lane, he had that crash, disaster struck. And yeah, horror show of a day for him, mate. Hopefully he's back for Hangtown, where obviously last year he had that amazing ride, scorching through the field, but 50 points down already. Not the opener he had in mind. And yeah, he won 7 rounds last year. Look back at it, you saw it, mate. Remember so many memorable rides, but I guess he was the one that we thought would come out and get the job done, and it certainly didn't go to plan, did it?
yeah, it's not good.
Good in Chase Sextonville. All he can do is come back and hope to get some race wins at this point, I think. I mean, it's still a long season. Anything can happen to Jet and Eli, but it just doesn't look good now, and that's assuming he can come back and be a winner at Hangtown. I mean, our guy Cody, one of our test riders, was there, and he was in the pits during the moto, and he said he saw Sexton walking back to the bus, and he could barely get back to the bus. So
Mm.
I don't know if he came over and the bike just landed on him funny. I mean, the wreck didn't look bad. It's when the bike lands on you, I think that probably messed him up. So who knows if he caught a foot peg to the leg or what happened. But I can't speculate. But having a bike flop on you is never fun. But yeah, it sucks to see because I do like Chase, and that guy catches a lot of strays too. But um, he just fucked. The dude's got the worst luck, dude. And why didn't pull off and get the goggles? I don't know. We talked about that on main event last night. It's just I told the boys, I said, I think I'll figure out what's going on in my wife's head or quantum physics and time and space before I figure out Chase Sexton's race decisions. I think that'd be easier to figure out. But boy's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, usually one thing on his side is when he does crash, he's so strong and fit and healthy that he usually gets through it. So hopefully that's the case. He doesn't really get injured too often, so hopefully he bounces back strong, mate. And his teammate AP, solid day at the office, mate. It looked like he, like many others, was just pretty happy to get out of parlour in one piece. Pretty gnarly track, got pretty beat up, those snaky ruts and big sort of, yeah, huge long ruts, different sections. It was pretty sort of all over the shop. He said the suspension was just bouncy, sort of, yeah, all the holes as well. So he had a lot to contend with on that track, like you touched on. But he had to run the scoop in that second moto. Didn't want to, but certainly paid off for him, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
But that track was mad sketchy, dude.
Yeah, it was wild. Certainly a big test for those dudes. And I guess what was your take on Prado too? Obviously, we spoke about him at length coming in. So excited to see him out there. Won 2 MX2 titles, 2 MXGP titles. Got injured in Supercross. Little bit of sort of apprehension coming in. How's he going to go? But yeah, probably not what he wanted overall. Probably didn't have 6 overall, I believe, on the cards, and was a bit of a sort of tough one to take when Anderson got past him and dropped him in the second moto. Definitely didn't have that on his cards, I'm sure. But I guess it's all learning, take the positives. And it is extremely difficult on a new bike to come over and win straight away. New series, obviously 1 day format, the schedule's different, lot new tracks, and just the way they develop and how the lines emerge. There's a lot to contend with. So I guess just get out of there, mate, and see how he goes at the next rounds.
Yeah, I don't think he was tripping too hard.
I talked to him for a minute afterwards, and he's we'll get there. We'll be good. He wasn't stressing too hard.
Yeah, you'd imagine once he gets those starts, he'll be dialed. And you look at what Justin Cooper did in the first one, he gets the start and he's sweet. But when he misses the jump, similar to Prado and the GPs over the years, it's hard for them to work their way back through the field, which is a bit of a frustration for them. But yeah, Justin Cooper was looking good. Positive enough weekend, not his favourite track still, but were you impressed with Jay Coop, mate?
Yeah, he was
pushing hard. He was punchy, dude. I don't think it'll be long. I think sometime this summer we're at least gonna see a couple podiums out of him. I don't know if he's gonna get a win with Jet and Eli in there, but I think some thirds are not out of the question for that dude.
Yeah,
Especially
Chase is beat up.
yeah, absolutely. Should be up there, top three in the title fight for sure. Him and Hunter and AP should be having some pretty good battles, and they maybe even up the top when the track's in their favour or things get worked to plan. But how about Cooper Webb, mate? He's just seemed pretty happy to be there. Obviously, fresh off that Supercross title. The thumb doesn't need surgery, he was saying, which is good for him. Obviously, that bike issue in the first one cost him, but the riding was really impressive. He was battling up there with Prado for most of that second moto, so he must be pretty stoked on that. But he's kind of just enjoying it, mate. Anything inside the top 10 he mentioned was pretty positive, so it's just cool to see Cooper Webb back outdoors, isn't it?
Yeah, I was watching
and when the bike started puffing smoke, I'm like, dude, just pull off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to be wide open and have that motor locked.
Dude. And by the time I set up to grab him coming around, he rolled up over the top of the jump and rolled down the backside and got off the bike. So I got that, but I was like, just call it a day, dude. We'll all be happy if you just go putt around all summer. We don't give a shit. Just come back and kick some ass next year, in Supercross. At his age, it ain't worth it. You know what I mean? He got the fresh little baby, don't end up face planting because you're pressured to win an outdoor title. No, but I don't think he's got any of that pressure, nor would he succumb to it. I mean, that dude's mentally tough as shit. So,
Yeah,
But yeah, it was weird seeing him go from 2 weeks ago
being the Supercross champion to being a back marker, that's just a weird kind of juxtaposition, I guess would be the word.
yeah, well said, mate. Absolutely. And obviously, he wants to be firing for those SMX World Championship finals. Then he'll probably be doing Paris Supercross, which you should be going to, and then maybe the AusX Open as well. So he's got a bit of cash that he doesn't want to leave on the table to race for as well, mate, which is another cool side
Yeah,
story and has been for years.
he's got to be healthy for that, at the end of the day. I just want to
It's good to keep him racing because it's going to keep him race shape and gate drops and the feel of being there, and then when you get to Supercross and get to SMX and all that shit, then he'll be ready to go. He's not going to be coming in cold. So
Yeah, absolutely.
my hope for Webb is that
he
he
just stays healthy, run 10th. Who gives a shit? Just stay healthy, get through your contractual obligations, and then go kick the shit out of the fall Supercross series and come back swinging in Anaheim.
Yeah, it's going to be good, mate. It's going to be good watching how it all plays out. Just anything else in the 450 class? Obviously, Guillaume and Paturel. The Euros did pretty awesome, mate. They were ripping, impressive
yeah,
around that top
Benoit.
10.
I like that kid, dude. I got to watch him ride.
It Elsinore on Tuesday, and then obviously Friday and Saturday. So I hadn't even heard of him until I think I saw the post on Hep Suzuki that he was coming over. I'm like, who the hell is this dude? And then Blair had mentioned him, I think, in a pod, and I'm like, well, who the hell is this dude? And then so Tuesday I'm walking through Elsinore and I look over, I see a Hep Suzuki bike with no numbers on it, and I look and I go, hey, you're the French guy, right? I can't remember
His name, and he goes, yes, I am Benoit
Patruel.
He talks very slow and deliberate. He goes, just talk slow to me,
And I understand. I'm like, okay,
I won't get all excited. But super nice. I made a video for him.
we put it up on our channel, and man, he's on that Marvin French guy program. You know how there's the French guys who are like,
Like, eat a dick. We don't care about you, grimy Yanks. And then there's the Marv French guy. He's like,
yeah, I'm happy to be here. How you doing? Let's be friends. Benoit's on that side, so I think he'll pick up a pretty good fan base in short order. If you don't follow him, go follow him. He's a real nice guy, but he was messaging me. He was all stoked, and so we made him an edit from press day, and he was all stoked on that. And I went and interviewed him. But dude, he got a top 10 right out the gate on a Model T motocross bike.
Mm.
And he just went out there and just laid wood, dude. So good on him, man. I hope he has a fantastic career over here.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You look back in 2016, he won their Motocross of Nations with France alongside Fevre and Paulin. So you know the guy rips, like he's been at it for many years, and it's cool to see him stateside. And it's a common theme, isn't it, these days, especially more than ever, it seems. All the Euros, the Brits, so many dudes, Aussies over there. We might get a couple of guys from Pro MX here coming over to race mid-season when there's a little couple of weeks off and stuff. So it's really cool. It just shows how popular the scene is stateside. Everyone wants to be a part of it, don't they?
Yeah, and I mean, there's an ebb and flow in kind of everything in life, and for a while there, it was Europe was, especially when Hurlings was in his prime and killing it. Everybody kind of wanted to be that way, and there was talks of people going over there, and RV went over there trying to finish out his career, and now all those guys want to come here for the money and the Supercross and all that. Well, it won't be too long before the people running MXGPs have enough of that shit, and they're gonna change things up and make it the incentives to where, well, we ain't leaving now, and business is business, and when you start losing what is going to make you your revenue and your stars for the sport, well, then you are going to make a change whether you want to or not, or you're going to go out of business, which they're not going to go out of business. So they're going to make the change. And so I think we're heading up to a peak of our ebb, and then at some point it'll shift and the momentum will go back GP's ways for a while. But what's funny is I've been seeing GP people around America a lot lately, and it makes me wonder if I wouldn't be surprised. Old Davey Coombs, man, he's one smart son of a bitch, and so are the guys from Feld. I wouldn't be surprised if they're building it up and talking to the MXGP people. I could see them all getting together. Hey, you build your market, we'll build our market. We'll get everybody kind of coming around and working together. Then we're gonna sell this shit to the people who run F1.
Yeah.
Whole package. Supercross, American Motocross, World Supercross, and just make it, Formula Moto or something, could just be, could you imagine the insanity of that? But that's some big brain shit. But if anybody could do it, it'd be guys like Prater and Davey and those guys. They're on that big brain action shit. I could see that happening, dude. That would not surprise me one bit. And if I hear this, y'all just realize that I'm the smartest fat boy out there.
Definitely spread the word about how awesome the sport is, mate. Supercross, motocross, everything. So you might be onto
Yeah.
something there, I think, mate. Very cool. And obviously at the forefront of that would be Hayden Deegan. Give us your take on him, mate. The Deegan domination in full force. He flexed his muscles again. He's a weapon on that track and just in outdoors in general, he's so much more comfortable than he is in Supercross. And few guys probably going to be able to beat him this year, but he still had a little bit of challenges here and there. But it's hard to see him losing, isn't it, mate? He was just on it, wasn't he?
If there was a dictionary, a moto dictionary, and you looked up American badass, yeah, there'd just be a picture of Hayden, dude. Kid just takes all kinds, and that's that kid. He's just an American badass. There's no other way to describe him. He just kicks the shit out of everything they put in front of him. So and us Americans, we like a good fight. So bring it, love it. Let's
Yeah,
go.
he's gonna be dialed. And how are the fans surrounding him? Was he the most popular rider there? Would they all want a piece of him, mate? How was that looking?
Yeah, I mean, they're calling it the Deegan Army now, but if you look at the podium at the 250, there's a Deegan 38 shirt on every other person. I mean, yeah, they're doing well. Life is not rough in the Deegan camp right now, but I like to I've built a pretty good rapport with Brian this year and last year, and I like that, he'll see me after the podium. I'll let him do his little deal. I stay back. I know my place, and then I know when the time is right. And I go up to the camera, and I'm just recording as I walk up, and I just go, all right, man. And he goes with it. I've earned his respect enough to do that, and he'll give me his on. And the one thing I like about him is he'll just give you straight up honesty. And he's like, yeah, we're kind of enjoying it and kicking the shit out of everything in the 250s, but over here in the 250 class, Aiden's the man. But I like what he said. He goes, in the 450 class, there's like five of the man, so it ain't gonna be easy. And we know what we know what we're stepping into. So for the people who hate on Hayden, there's no delusions of grandeur, but if you don't tell yourself you're going to go in there and kick the shit out of everybody, then you're never going to kick the shit out of everybody. Even if you know going in that you're not going to kick the shit out of everybody, you better act like you're gonna, and then just earn it, or just be like, hey, I know one day I'm gonna, at least have that attitude. One day I am going to be the top dog, and because if you don't have that mentality in anything you do in life, that's a competitive nature, you ain't gonna be shit.
Yeah, it's a cool approach they have. You got to respect. Obviously, they clearly do the work. They put in the hours on and off the bike, and the results show. And you can take it or leave it. Some fans like the brashness, some people don't. But it's great for the sport. It's great entertainment. It's great for what we're doing in the media side of things. So long may it continue from my point of view, anyway. But at least it was good to see that guys like Shimoda was giving him a bit of a run for his money. Hymus as well in that first one before he crashed. Obviously cost him the chance to maybe battle for the lead. Do you think he could have maybe won that first moto chance if it went to plan for him, mate? But there was quite a lot of competitive, riding in that 250 class. Not necessarily for Deegan, but behind him, it should be some pretty awesome battles too.
Yeah, I mean, Chance has had a lot of humble pie the last couple seasons since he debuted, and I like this new version of Chance. And I went and interviewed him after the race, and he, I said, hey, is it safe to say this is the most prepared you've ever been for coming into this season? He's like, yeah, dude, I'm ready to go. He goes, I want that championship, and good for him. And there's two people in that class who can easily. We're not maybe easily is not the you would easily put them into the category of beating Hayden is probably the right thing to say, and it's Juju and Chance, and then you got to put Joe in there too. And when Joe's on, he's on. So I think there's three guys chomping at the bit to knock Hayden on his ass at least for a moto or two, and they'd love to take him for the season, but. Yeah, I think that's who it is. But yeah, Chance, I just like that version of Chance. I think just getting healthy and being part of the HRC program and riding with Hammaker and Jet and Hunter all the time, dude, that shit, iron sharpens iron, right? So I think you're starting to see the fruits of the labor.
Yeah, well said, mate. And obviously the other bloke on the podium there was Vial. Obviously wants more than that, but yeah, solid start on the track. He's not the biggest fan of, so I guess room for refinement with the bike. And it's not long after he just clinched that Supercross title, the second one, regional one on a thriller there, mate. So he's another guy that he wants the title, but it is tough to beat Deegan. And he did mention, the tracks. It's just challenging to continue to be as good as those US guys that have ridden them for years. So it just takes time outdoors. So. Yeah, Vial, your thoughts on him, mate, and any other 250 guys you'd like to mention, the PC crew, the Club MX lads, anything else?
Yeah, I mean the Garrett Marchbanks, he kind of led the field for PCE and Masterpool. How about that start, dude?
Yeah.
Everybody else wants to go to the inside. Masterpool's all slingshot engaged, dude. I love that shit. It reminded me of Vegas last year, dude. He just man, that guy just loves going outside, dude. Just give that dude a solid berm that's not gonna blow out and let him just rail it, dude. God, I love that kind of motocross gets me fired up when I see that shit, with Masterpool, dude. It's like, damn, dude, that was sick. And then it didn't work out the way he wanted, and he ended up God, who was he fighting with? I think he was fighting with Fedortsov at the end, the second moto. Got to give a shout out to AFED. He made it through his first race there for club and his first pro race, and he just was happy to make it through and learn and just check that box and get going. And Volan looked pretty good. We'll jump back to the 450 real quick, but man, poor Cody, dude. But he wasn't hurt, he I think he just pulled off, but I saw him after the race and he was decent. He wasn't completely broke off, but yeah, it just wasn't the way he wanted to go. And yeah, shit happens. But I think that kid will be back, dude. He's a scrappy son of a bitch.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And what are your final thoughts, mate? You're looking forward to Hangtown as well, even though the heat's going to be pretty wild. And obviously, there's a lot going on Whiskey Throttle. You had the golf tournament, Ducati's test pings off in Italy at the moment doing that. And obviously, shout out to Liam Owens, a young Aussie. He did a great result in the EMX 250 on the weekend in France and is about to make his MX2 World Championship debut in Germany this weekend. We collabed on an edit there, mate. So go check that. All the fans, cheers for that. And yeah, what's your take on the rest of the week, mate?
Chill, go to the doctor. Barbecue today. Today's Memorial Day in America, so pay some respects first thing. That was the first thing posted this morning, and then just chill. Thursday, head Northern California, go see my mom. Friday, do the combine, which I'm excited to see. Want to see Landon Gordon. That's my dark horse for the combine. I like him. And then Justin Kidd from Club, I like him too. I think those two are going to scrap. So I'm excited to see that. WMX as well. Film the girls. We're doing a podcast tomorrow night. We're gonna film KK and Lachlan Turner for the Gear Up podcast with the ladies. So if you guys want to hear the ladies' perspective in moto, we've got a new podcast. Check it out. And yeah, Ping's in Italy. That son of a bitch. And I tell him, I go, so I come up with a crafty idea at the Anaheim 1 launch. I go, I just spur the moment. I send our old filmer, Nate, you get over there, I'll get over there, film this side. As soon as it's done, get over here, airdrop it. Ooh, I got it up. Nah, shit, that thing's at like 14 million views. We got the guy who runs, Ducati, messaged me saying, dude, that's sick, dude. Look at all these views. And I'm like, yeah. So we got the invite with, all the big dogs. And I'm like, so I have the epiphany and put us on their radar, and you get to seek all the glory. You son of a bitch. I was just being a hater because, what am I going to do? Go around and roll around in first gear? They're going to be like, fuck Whiskey Throttle, so it's good to be Ping, I guess. And I'm just being a hater.
No, it's cool, mate. I bet he's having a blast over there, eating some great food as well as getting to test a great motorcycle, mate. So, no, it's good for him, mate. We look forward to seeing all the content from that. It's going to be awesome, mate. And obviously, thanks again for joining us on this one, mate. Massive shout out to Fly Racing, Firepower, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkaleen for all their support. As without them, none of this would be possible. All right, cheers again, Jeff, mate. Been another Ripper podcast. Great to hear your insights, and we'll catch up again next week. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Thank you.
No worries, mate.